we have to talk about the second apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump in just over 2 months. But as you may have seen, according to law enforcement officials, the incident took place at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, about 4 miles away from Mar-a-Lago. And reportedly at around 1:30 p.m. between the 5th and 7th holes, a Secret Service agent who was securing the course ahead of Trump saw a man with a rifle and scope in the tree line and opened fire, with the Palm Beach County Sheriff saying that Trump was about 300 to 500 yards away, but remained uninjured and was quickly rushed to a holding room. And reportedly, after the initial encounter, the gunman fled in a black Nissan, leaving behind an AK-47 style rifle with the serial number partly scratched off, 2 bags, and a camera mounted to a fence. Though he was quickly arrested around 40 miles from the golf course after a witness saw him fleeing in that black Nissan. And with all this, just this morning, a criminal complaint was released that revealed that the gunman had actually been hiding in the woods around the vicinity of the golf course for nearly 12 hours before a Secret Service agent spotted it. Right in that, according to data from his cell phone. The complaint also didn't make any mention of whether he fired his weapon, which has also remained unclear so far. And while as of recording officials haven't publicly released a motive, we do know some details about him. Right, we know that he was a 58-year-old former roofing contractor from Greensboro, North Carolina. And according to reports, public records show that he previously faced criminal charges for 2 separate incidents in 2002 for possession of a weapon of mass destruction, with a court docket filing showing that he pled guilty to the first charge in April of that year, although there were no other details widely available to the public. Then, that December, he reportedly faced separate charges after he barricaded himself in a United roofing building in Greensboro for 3 hours while armed with a machine gun. With the authorities there saying that incident started after he was pulled over for a traffic stop and he was ultimately arrested without incident. Though also with that, it's currently unclear how those charges against him were resolved. Beyond that, it's also been reported that he was intensely fixated on Russia's war with Ukraine, sometimes expressing violent rhetoric regarding the conflict, with, for example, the New York Times specifically pointing to posts that he shared on X in the weeks after the invasion, with that including one where he expressed a desire to fight and die in Ukraine. Also, very notably, he was actually interviewed by the Times back in 2023 for an article about Americans volunteering to help the war effort in Ukraine. And during that interview, which took place when he was in Washington, he told the outlet that he traveled to Ukraine after Russia's invasion and wanted to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight there. But the Times, going on to add, he spoke with the self-assuredness of a seasoned diplomat who thought his plans to support Ukraine's war effort were sure to succeed, but also adding he appeared to have little patience for anyone who got in his way. And writing, when an American foreign fighter seemed to talk down to him in a Facebook message he shared with the New York Times, the gunman said he needs to be shot. And in addition to that, the Washington Post also reported that the gunman apparently wrote a 291-page book last year about the disillusionment surrounding Ukraine. With that, according to an Amazon listing that was selling it for $2.99. And very significantly, the Post also found a section of the book that focused on Iran where he wrote he must take part of the blame for electing a brainless president, with that being an apparent reference to Trump, and then declaring to readers, "You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment and the dismantling of the deal." So all of that could offer some insight into a potential motive for this maniac. Also online, part of the reason you're seeing people saying, oh, he was a Trump supporter, oh no, he was a Democrat. Well, that is because, as Axios explained, in addition to that line in the book that he wrote in 2023, before X suspended his account on Sunday, he had posted online statements that indicated he was a Trump supporter in 2016, but then noting he turned against the former president by 2020. Also in 2020, he shared several posts expressing support for former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, with him then more recently expressing support for a ticket involving Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley. Now, with all that said, as far as how Donald Trump himself has responded, friends and aides have said that he was shocked about the attempt on his life, but that he was cracking jokes about it later in the day, with Trump also thanking local law enforcement and the Secret Service for keeping him safe, saying they had done an absolutely outstanding job. But Trump also tried to blame Biden and Harris for this latest attempt in an interview with Fox News Digital this morning, with him saying that Biden and Harris's rhetoric is what is causing him to be shot at, claiming that the gunman acted on highly inflammatory language of Democrats, with Trump also insisting that he doesn't use highly inflammatory language, which unfortunately, of course, is a complete lie. But he has repeatedly used violent rhetoric and threats against his political opponents, the mere language used by dictators. He has downplayed violence against Democrats, and literally in this same Fox News interview, he said that Democrats, quote, want to destroy our country, and calling them the enemy from within and the real threat. And this as Biden, Harris, and Walz unequivocally condemned the violence, with Harris saying in a statement that she was deeply disturbed by the possible assassination attempt of Trump, and continuing, we all must do our part to ensure that this incident does not lead to more violence, and reiterating that she is thankful that former President Trump is safe. A sentiment that was also echoed by Walz and Biden, who also told reporters this morning that the Secret Service needs more help and that Congress needs to respond. Also, on the note of political violence, another notable response that we saw came from Elon Musk, with Musk responding to a user who had questioned why the gunman wanted to kill Trump and writing, and no one is even trying to assassinate Biden/Kamala. With that post, unsurprisingly, getting a ton of backlash, many accusing Musk of inciting violence, with all that prompting him to delete the post, but not before it got nearly 40 million impressions. He then also later repeatedly attempted to walk it back as a joke in later posts. But with all that said, as far as what happens from here, I mean, just this morning, the DOJ charged the gunman with 1 count of possessing a firearm as a convicted felon and another of possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number. But all of this is the investigations remain ongoing ongoing, and officials have told reporters that the charges might just be preliminary and more could be brought in the coming weeks. And so as of recording, it's pretty much everything we know, though of course keep in mind this is a developing situation and one that I'll keep an eye on. And not only about the gunman, but also the response from the Secret Service and local law enforcement officials, especially given the fact that the suspect had been lurking near the golf course for almost 12 hours before he was spotted, which seems to suggest that both failed to detect him in their perimeter sweeps. But for now, we'll have to wait to see what comes out. And of course, in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you.